Hey folks, Rufus here from Keewaydin Farms and Driftless Curiosity. Today I'm wearing my Driftless Curiosity hat. Today we're doing a preservation class, drying, canning, and freezing. And today we have Kathy Vasatag. Kathy Vasatag? We have Kathy Vasatag joining us to help us. She's our local canning guru. We've got Joy Miller, who of course has set this whole baby up. We've got other friends helping us out. Kyle Richards is going to help us do a dehydration demo. So they're getting everything ready to go. We got pots boiling, all kinds of tools. Great book. Say hi, Kathy.
Hi.
Thank you so much for helping us out today.
Thanks for having me.
And we got Kyle Richards in here doing his dehydration stuff. What you got going on?
Got some rosemary, some dill, got some sage there, gotta weigh it out.
And you got the Dryomatic 5000?
Dryomatic 6000 actually, 6000 plus. It does a little extra, you know, you never know when you're gonna need that extra boost. Got some basil in here, some sage. Got some examples of what not to do.
Oh, okay.
And some possibilities of what can happen with low moisture content.
Man, I wish you guys could smell this. It smells awesome here. Thanks, Kyle. All right, well, we're about to get the day going here, so thanks for joining us.
I'll do a little overview of the tools and some of the objects you see sitting here. And so the equipment we're using is, so you'll see up here 2 propane burners. So you can buy these in different sizes. The propane tanks and stuff, you can get those at pretty much any gas station. They're kind of pricey to buy new, like I think I paid $75 for a new one, but it's cheaper if you exchange them and sell them. Water bath canner, you can get this at Nelson's or any hardware or kitchenware store. And then there's another, this is just another style of the burner. You can get them shorter or taller. A large pot, some of you may have one of those at home, otherwise you might need to invest in a bigger pot for canning. Might not have one for regular cooking. The rack, so inside this water bath canner, you've got, I'm gonna need something to pull that out. That works, yeah.
Watch your fingers.
Woo. This is just a little metal rack for inside that you stack the jars in. Usually when you buy a water bath canner, these come with it. So there's that. Set of tongs. It's always good to have when you're doing preservation. A ladle. We talked about the pressure canner. We're not going to do that today, but if you're going to do anything with lower acid or meat, you need that. Here's an example of, we canned venison a couple of years ago. A lot of people are a little scared about that, but it is good. Yeah. Jar lifter. This is to lift jars out. I'm not sure what the name of this thing is. The jar poker to push down the tomatoes, and this will measure how many inches of headspace you have in the jar.
You can also get rid of the bubbles that form around.
Yep, get rid of the bubbles and show you how much headspace you have. Lids, and you can do lids and jars in both regular size or wide mouth.
This is the regular size.
Yep, so
this is wide mouth.
Yep. And this one is a quart and this one is a pint. We're going to be working with quarts for the tomatoes and pints for the pickles. What else? A funnel. Good idea to have one of these when you're working with jars. It's nice and easy to put stuff in. Bunch of utensils, paper towels, and for canning also you'll want to have salt and bottled lemon juice. Yep. And it's important to have bottled lemon juice because it has the right amount of acidity. If you're working with just squeezing lemons naturally, you could be kind of all across the board with the acid level. Sharpie to label your jars. Lid rack to stick your lids in there.
Yep. Put them down and take them back and forth out of the hot water. Just,
Whoa.
it's not a requirement, but
that is
it's
so
a
cool.
nifty little tool I got.
And also, kitchen timer, nice to especially when you're doing multiple things to set the timer instead of having to do your phone. You can use your phone if you don't have one though. And I think that was all of those things. And you'll see how we use these tools as we get into the demo as well. But the first thing we're going to do is tomatoes, and we are going to harvest those ourselves. So we're actually going to all get up and walk over to greenhouse number 2, and I think if each person picks about 2 or 3 ripe tomatoes, that'll be enough for us to do the demonstration. So you'll get to kind of see a few of the gardens on the way and get to pick our own tomatoes.
God, every year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It looks great.
Yeah, we got a new planting of chard there. We just did some chives. We just put them in the garden.
Tomatoes outside, we kind of gave up on that because they just don't stay as nice. When you control the environment, they just are a lot nicer. So come on in, you can grab 2 or 3 nice ripe tomatoes. If they're not perfect, that's actually great.
Tienes que recolectar.
Now, once you have the tomatoes, you can put them in this black bin and we'll carry them back over to the preservation area.
Did you guys find any?
Just a couple.
These are beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I love the different colors.
Oh yeah, those are Cherokee purple that you've got, and then you've got the Brandywines.
These are, no, hers are brand new.
Yours are Brandywines, those are Cherokee purples.
Okay.
Yep. 4 of our greenhouses going, so.
So the next step in the process is we're going to blanch these, which makes it nice and easy to peel them.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, you can just lay them on this table and give them a little spray. Yep. We didn't rinse ours. Okay, you can eat this too. Oh yeah.
When you're canning just regular tomatoes like this, it is important to peel them. It's part of the recipe, and the reason why is pockets of bacteria can form into the peels. And so if you were going to make, let's say you were going to cook it down and make a sauce, then you wouldn't necessarily have to peel them. It's kind of a matter of preference, but when it's just full tomatoes or quartered or halved, you have to peel them for safety.
So we're gonna move out now to you guys can go back to the bench area, and we're gonna do the blanching process, and then we'll have you guys help peel them.
Oh yeah. All right, so we have a boiling pot of water here, and we're just gonna start putting tomatoes. Yeah. There we go. It's a bigger pot than I'm used to at home, but we're okay.
That's true.
So we're gonna get all these in there.
And then once we get them all in,
You might not be able to do them all in one batch. You generally don't, especially if you're just using your own big pot on your stove.
Should I start the timer for that one?
Yep.
So this is just a
I'm trying just not to
second.
overflow it. There we go.
Yep. 60 seconds.
All right.
The recipe says 30 to 60 seconds. Whoops, I didn't get here.
So yeah, 30 to 60 seconds. I just canned a bunch of my own tomatoes at home yesterday, and I did 60 seconds. So once the timer goes off, what we're going to be doing is slotted spoon over into the cool water bath. Did we get 6? About
I think
60?
it's about
I think they're good.
Okay.
So we're going to slotted spoon or tongs them into.
Is there a downside to not pouring them? Yes, you can. Like the skins.
Out of the boiling water into the cold water.
So you can, so you can just grab a tomato and just kind of slide the peels off. There's a slop bucket right there. And then the ones that are peeled, go ahead and put in this bowl. And then there's 3 cutting boards. I would recommend quartering these and take the core out just of the top of the tomato and then just quarter them, and then the done ones can go into here. Yeah, I'm not going to reach to the bottom of it.
Moving some of these over. So that way I feel like I'm hoarding the bucket, so I don't want to do that.
Quit hoarding.
Hoarding the tomatoes.
When you core it, you don't want to take a lot of the tomato. You're just gonna kind of.
try a cut?
This one's not really a.
You can do it if you want. Do you want to do it?
We have really dull knives here at the farm. Is that pretty cool?
So, yeah, the core. So then I would just recommend, just so they fit in the jars.
And so that's all you take out for the coring?
That's all I take out, yeah. I mean, you can go deeper if you get it open like this and you think, oh, there's maybe a little bit farther down in, you can. It's not an exact science for that part of it, but.
Are we going for a certain size of our slices? Because this is a big guy.
You know, it's really all about getting it down to a size to put it in the jar. So most of the time I just quarter it. It has to be at least 5% acidity, which the lemon juice in it ensures.
You're good.
Okay. All right, so then we're gonna just start packing the jars.
Participate. So like one person could do lemon
teaspoon
juice.
of salt.
One person could
2
do.
tablespoons of lemon juice into the jar. Anybody else wants to? 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Yep.
Okay, and 1 of salt, right?
Yep.
So were you trying to get it?
I say someone did lemon juice, I could do the salt if it'll come out.
So then garlic salt you wouldn't want to use either then, because it would change the...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm just an ass because I like garlic salt.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, I love garlic salt.
I know. So for like, could you use a Himalayan salt too, the pink Himalayan salt?
You can.
You can?
Yeah.
Because that's got a nice salt.
Because the salt doesn't have any effect for the safety of the food.
Wait, so
More,
could
it's
you
just
use garlic salt?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, maybe you could.
Yeah.
Well, that would be kind of good to try.
I guess I guess I'll have to. You know, there's a canning group on Facebook that.
Oh yeah, we were gonna.
They
tell you
are
guys about-
awesome. You can ask questions and somebody gets back to you like, no, don't do that.
Well, like, so I always see like canning salt on the recipes, so it has to be specifically canning salt for those ones, right?
So that's for and we'll talk about that when we get into the refrigerator pickles.
I didn't add salt to this one yet, right?
Okay. I know I did
Sorry,
those.
maybe I should just follow you.
That's okay. You're good. I'm just trying to figure it out. Are these done?
Yep, those are all
So you
ready to
go
go.
like
Okay.
a half-inch headspace?
Yep,
The
half
humidity
inch
is making mess.
headspace. So headspace is,
Challenge here.
the amount to the rim. And you know, you don't have to have this fancy tool, right? Yep. Yep. So we want to put the lids in. You don't ever want to boil the lids. That's according to the stuff I've researched.
Yeah.
You want to get them hot, and so I don't know it's not really adhesive. It's just
It's like a waxy.
Yeah, you want to get it softened.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You want to soften it up.
The stuff I've read anyway says not to boil them. So just get them a little soft, keep them hot.
I think because if you boil them too hard, it could break damage
down
that
the,
seal.
and then it might not seal properly.
It's like it runs off or
so
something.
we're just putting them in the warm water that we use to sterilize.
Half an inch.
We'll just do it for a few
And you can
minutes.
use
And I'll just bring them here.
Yep.
For now?
Yep.
And then
So-
I was gonna ask.
So we're gonna ladle some hot water
You can just tell me.
up to the level that the tomatoes are at.
Each one of these is a different
Did you say that
batch
when you're testing after
like
the
this
12
is a
hours,
half,
you take the
this is
rim off and
for-
try
Yep.
Yep. And I'm wiping the top and around the side of the rim. Another thing I don't think we mentioned is before you even start canning, you need to inspect your jars, because again, one little nick in the top of the jar rim here is going to prevent it from sealing. And you know, you can see this is a lot of work. You don't want to have this go through all this work and then it doesn't.
Yeah, the same thought, yeah. I was like, oh no, it's going over.
I know.
Which one did one of them overflow?
No, I just bumped it.
Oh.
But I was waiting for the tragedy.
And you don't want to crank on these, but you want to make sure that they're tight. Right. Handy tool comes in. We're going to put these right down. Do not. You want to have enough water in here so that all the jars, the top of the jars is covered.
By at least 1 inch. I think the recipe said 1 to 2 inches.
For like when you're doing pickles in a hot bath, would you have them covered too?
Yep.
Now, we don't start the timer until we actually see the rolling boil start.
Rolling boil,
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on this until it starts boiling, and then we'll set the timer for 45 minutes. And again, you can do the shorter time, the 45 minutes, because we hot pack them with the hot water versus them going cold into the water, which then requires 95?
85.
85.
Yeah.
Almost, you know, twice as long.
Right.
Yeah, it turns
So,
out.
we've got those. 45.
You feel like a pro?
Yep. Because we hot packed them, it's a little shorter time. Yep.
So I suppose we could chuck some corn while we're waiting for it to boil.
Oh, we're handing them to you. Oh, good. Oh, yeah.
Poor man.
We've got a pot of boiling water here. Boiling away. Do you want to bring that over and tong them in? Yeah. Oh, it's really boiling, too.
All right. So fun in the middle of winter, grabbing a bag of fresh sweet corn, frozen sweet corn from the basement and freezer, and brings
Do we
back
want
a
to
little
have this
summer.
covered?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, yeah.
With our fancy cover.
We'll keep it boiling. I'll set this timer for 7.
We go, about 7, 8, somewhere in there minutes for that to blanch. And we're gonna sort of be multitasking here because we're working on blanching and freezing corn and doing refrigerator pickles. So if maybe 2 or 3 people wanted to work on trimming pickles, I can do just a little example. It said to trim the ends.
Yep, trim off the ends.
So just take a little bit off the end, and you can go into this refuse bucket with that. And this is totally fine here. That's a wonderful looking pickle. Yeah. But if you're cutting up a bigger cucumber, same thing. Take off the ends here, and then you can just do an easy slice like that. That's the ones that you made.
Yep.
At this cutting board, we're gonna be cutting the corn off the cob. So after the boiling for 7 minutes, similar to the tomatoes, we're gonna, this is a longer boil. The tomatoes were, 60 seconds and out. This is corn's got a little more substance to it, so 7 to 8 minutes. Then we're gonna go into the cold water with the corn, same as we did with the tomatoes. And then this will be the corn, taking the corn off the cob station. So cut pickles can go in there, yep. It takes a while,
sometimes, yeah. These are awesome. These are absolutely amazing.
I can give her my big knife.
What a beautiful knife.
Yeah.
Good.
They'll keep the spears somewhere else. Just
And you just kind of hold on to it and cut it right off like this.
Beautiful.
So we're continuing to work on the brine here. I've already added the water, the vinegar, the sugar. Now I'm going for the salt. And I need 4 tablespoons of salt.
Yep.
And Kathy's bringing the pickling
This is the
salt.
pickling spice. And
Sorry, I have
brine is going to be 8 teaspoons. So for each pint jar, we're going to have 1 clove of garlic. You can leave it whole, or when I made mine, I did crush them using like a garlic press or whatever. And 2 sprigs of dill. So if somebody wants to start, and be careful, these are hot jars. You can
We'll lay it flat in the freezer, and you want it to get kind of the air out as you could. So
Get in there.
freezer corn.
And when you're making refrigerator pickles or refrigerator any, cucumbers or jelly beans or whatever, if they're going to be in the refrigerator, you don't have to be concerned at all about head space or all that kind of thing.
Do you need the fresh lids for the refrigerator ones?
You can use like the regular lids and the rings like you do for regular canning. But Joy bought some of these nice little reusable lids.
These are still ball lids. They just make a plastic one for.
They're perfect for making refrigerator pickles. So we need to bring it to a boil and then turn it down and simmer it. It's not quite.
And then you put pickles.
Where's your key? I'll be there. Yeah. We can make a trip to Madison. Let me know what time. We'll be there.
Yeah.
Dehydrating, low heat, time, and airflow is pretty much what's gonna get you to where you want to be with any type of herb. Traditional kind of thing you'd probably notice and stuff in the kitchens hanging up is, you know, your dried herbs. Low moisture content herbs like dill or rosemary, stuff with like smaller leaves, are better for hanging. You can do stuff like this, like sage and stuff, it'll work. A little bit higher moisture content and stuff, but things like basil, you run the risk of like mold, basically, pathogens, things like that. Same with you know, canning and stuff. Like, you still have to be mindful of your drying times. Potentially, you know, you still have like E. coli in your lettuces. You hear about those outbreaks and stuff in California sometimes where it's salmonella. You know, those things are still there and prevalent, and you got to be careful with that. But yeah, traditional drying is great for certain herbs. Let's see, like the low moisture would be like rosemary, dill, mint, bay, tarragon, and lavender, stuff with like small leaves. And you can hang these up and it'd be like 2 weeks time. These should be pretty good, but like depending on your environment, if you're in like a dusty farmhouse or something maybe, or you know, like maybe not the right conditions, you can put a brown paper bag around them and keep that dust off of them to kind of help with that problem, so you're not eating dusty herbs and maybe flavor profiles are a little off or something. But it will extend the time by another probably 2 weeks. And you'll be able to notice when you do, you'll kind of take your herbs and put them in like a airtight jar, you know, a canning jar, or you know, even a Ziploc bag if you're going to use them up right away. But like first couple hours, say you dried something out, you think it's good, you put it in your jar, and then maybe 2 or 3 hours, check it and see if there's like any moisture buildup in the jar or anything. And then check it another like 2 or 3 days, especially with like air drying like this. Another way to air dry is like screens. Some people will stack them, and that one's more, well, same with these, you kind of want to have a dry, warm place. Like kitchen is usually pretty good. People have them all hanging up in their kitchen. It looks really beautiful and it's awesome. But the screens are kind of the same situation. You got a little bit more controlled environment, so it can be a little bit more tricky. I know some places even note like, you know, they put them in their car because it's hot or something, but you know, it's like, you know, you get creative. But like with this one, like if you bundle them too tight, like this one's got a lot going on and it's gonna be harder for them to dry out, you know. So just kind of, for the comments and stuff, like smaller or like more spaced out is more helpful just for drying times. And then those are kind of like the basic traditional methods you can use. We have these things, which is kind of like a little mini oven. This is the Excalibur brand. This is one I used to use in the restaurant. It's really awesome. You can get smaller models that have like 3 or 4 trays. The price range is a little bit better, about $130. A lot of times you see like kind of the circle ones. I don't know if anybody has those and stuff. And they'll still have a fan on the top, which is great, and it still works. Or they'll have the fan on the bottom. The ones on the bottom are a little bit more difficult because sometimes food particles fall down and can be troublesome. But this one's got the fan in the back and just has all these trays on it. So this one can do a lot of different things. I like the ones with the fans in the back and the box design because you can do stuff like fruit leather in it. You can take all the trays out and you can raise bread, you can make yogurt, you can make crackers in it too, which is really awesome. With fruit leather is my favorite for hiking especially. Well, most of the dehydrated stuff, hiking food is awesome because it's lightweight and you can pack it with you and takes up less space. Like, you know, if you're like dicing up carrots or basically any vegetable you got. But with the fruit leather, these silicone sheets are awesome for it. The silicone, and there's a couple name brands like, you know, it's like Kleenex or something, but it's not actually Kleenex, but the name, it's like, probably I wrote it down. Paraflex. Yeah, I think the Paraflex brand is the ones that are for these. But these are basically silicone sheets. You can find them anywhere for the dehydrator, and they're really awesome for the fruit leather. But kind of step back, go back to herbs here. This is like the basil. I put this in, I guess it's about 4 hours ago. They're about there, but usually like your dehydrator, you want it like 105 degrees. If the humidity is relatively absent, but it was a little humid this morning and stuff, so I went ahead and bumped it to like 120 degrees. and it's doing pretty good. It's almost there. There's still got a little bit of like, this one's gonna take some time. It's got some moisture on it. There's a couple that are starting to get brittle. You basically want them to crunch and snap as like zero moisture essentially to make them shelf stable. So this one's starting to get there. They aren't quite there, but they've shrunk quite a bit. Once your moisture leaves, you get a lot of shrinkage. But you can do like, you know, multiple herbs at once. So I got the sage on here, and the sage is there pretty much. I mean, that's.
Can you hand one of those around and just kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You wanna. And then this is.
Now it's about 4 hours, huh?
Yeah, 4 hours there, and then like this one, you can kind of tell it's like it's sticky, and it's not quite, but it's starting to. You can kind of feel the texture there. And then with like woody stems and stuff, like especially on basil, you want to clip off all the stems to make it go a little faster. Like I put this sage in here as like an example, kind of like you still got the sticks on here, but it's still noticeably, that was put in at the same time as that one, but with the sticks on there, the moisture content is still absorbing through the leaves and stuff, and so like clipping all those little sticks off like helps a lot. Then I threw some rosemary in here as well. Rosemary, since it's got like the smaller, not as woody stems, it's still like, it's about dry, it's almost there, but it's still, the moisture is holding because of the sticks. But then if you have them, you know, just the leaves popped off, it dries a lot faster. So like stuff with rosemary is really great for hanging up and drying in that kind of 2 week frame. Same with dill. Dill's really great because it dries a lot quicker. But with like sage bundles here, clipping off these stems and then tying them up is a lot more efficient. But something like sage too, a lot of people like, you know, hang to dry them, you know, to like make smudge sticks or whatever, you know, or just for herbs for cooking, making stuffing or something. But kind of keep an eye on stuff like that for molding. Also, if you do the brown bag to keep dust off, make sure that they're completely dry before you put them in the bag, because that will create unsavory environment for, you know, bacteria and mold to develop. Another cool thing with like dehydrators is according to the USDA, about 60 to 80, so like 70% of nutrients are lost in canning. And only about 4% is lost in dehydrating. So like you don't lose as much nutrients and stuff when you're like really needing that energy and wanting those nutrients.